Okay, welcome to that WNBA podcast. We're back with episode 7. I want to welcome you to today's podcast again, where I dive deep into the world of the WNBA. Join me as we celebrate the incredible athletes, the thrilling games, and inspiring stories that make women's basketball so special. Whether you're a long-time fan or new to the sport, I've got you covered with game analysis, player interviews, and all that jazz. So, yeah, let's get into it and let's tip off. Okay, so welcome again to today's episode. It's been another week. We've had lots of Olympic action, but most of all, the WNBA is almost back, everybody. It's almost back. I am so excited. This kind of 3 weeks without WNBA basketball has really had me down. So, look, I'm really looking forward to getting back in the swing of things. I've got some Olympic stuff to talk through. I've got some storylines to watch out for here in the second half or the last little bit of the season. What we can look forward to, who's playing up next, and yeah, anything else important that I can think of. So let's get into it. Make sure you like the podcast. You can get it anywhere on all your podcast platforms, on YouTube, Spotify, etc. Make sure you give it a like, give it a subscribe, leave a comment, interact. I've gotten more and more views as we go along on YouTube, but not many subscribers. So please subscribe to the pod if you enjoy what I'm doing. I know it's still looking a bit rough, but I enjoy talking to you guys about something that I'm passionate about. So if you want to keep hearing honest, takes from somebody that's not in the national media, somebody that's not here watching every third game and just giving takes on, stories that pop up on social media, then, come play along, come watch along, give it a go, and, let's build a community. So let's get into the episode. Let's talk about the Olympics. Let's talk about the new WNBA half of the season that's kicking off shortly. So just to wrap up the Olympics, really quickly, I don't want to spend too much time on this. We've talked about the Olympics, but it was really important. It was a really big deal, and we all know what happened. We all knew what was going to happen, but it was closer than you would have thought. I guarantee that, because we know that the US women have won every gold medal since the inception of the sport at the Olympics. I did think Australia would be the ones to take it up to them this time and maybe pinch that gold if they had an off night. Turns out they met in the semis. The USA beat Australia comprehensively, sadly for myself. And the German women went out in the quarterfinals, but they put up a strong showing. Really proud of them. They did really well for a team that's at their first Olympics. So really proud of those guys. Satu played really well, and in particular. But yeah, look, the Australian women in the semi-finals, maybe a bit underwhelming. They took a while to get going, and by then it was already too late. They held Aja Wilson to a pretty respectable number, especially in that first quarter or so. But yeah, there was just not enough falling for the women, and it ended up being a France USA final. And as we know, it came down to the wire. So there was a 1-point difference at the final buzzer. There was a buzzer beater. Sadly, French just didn't quite get far enough behind that line. If you've watched it, it was kind of a pass up the court with a catch and shoot with a few seconds left, kind of almost a floater, and yeah, just stepped inside the 3-point line and lost by 1. So they could have tied the game, could have taken it to overtime. But really good game to watch. So the final score was 67-66. Obviously, the US women really deserved the victory. Obviously, I've talked about this plenty of times. I love Sabrina. Really glad she got her first gold medal. I know that a lot of these ladies already have so many. With Diana Taurasi now setting that record with 6 gold medals, which is just incredible. And having one more than Sue Bird, which I thought was funny when she mentioned that. So yeah, Gabby Williams just at the end, that 2-point floater, which just wasn't quite behind the line. She had a really good end to the game. I think she had a 3-pointer on before that. Kalia Copper from the US also hit 2 free throws with 3 seconds left. After they drew a foul there at the end of the game, she made both of them. So for somebody who's maybe a little less well known on that US team, she really came in clutch there at the end. And if she didn't hit those, if she only hit one, maybe we'd be talking about a different result. But if we just look at the box score, it'll be, the usual suspects. Kelsey Plummer, 12. Kalia Copper, like I said, was really good in this one, had 12 points. Sabrina actually didn't have anything. She only shot once in almost 10 minutes of play. She did have a few assists and a couple of rebounds, so not too bad. Of course, Aja Wilson had 21 points, the only one above the 20s, and obviously she took home MVP, which is well deserved, and something we'll move on to a little bit later when we come to the WNBA, because I think the WNBA MVP race is as good as over. And yeah, look, I don't think there's much more I need to say when it comes to that. Australia, then also just to touch on that, beat Belgium 85-81 in the third place game, which was also quite a good game to watch. I was expecting Australia to get over the line in that one. I think if Australia played on the other side of the draw, I think that maybe they would have gotten to the final, depending on obviously how they would have played on that day, probably against France. But France definitely provided a better showing against the US. In terms of the box score for that Australia game, sadly, Lauren Jackson, one of Australia's greats, WNBA great, and just a basketball great in general when it comes to women's basketball. This was a fifth Olympic medal, I believe. And yeah, she didn't play in this one, but she was just a great leader. It was amazing that she was there. She was definitely important to the team while she was there. And I think an incredible standout over the last couple of games for Australia was Izzy McGregor. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. She had 30 points in that bronze medal match, and yeah, look, she was pretty incredible. She only shot 1 3, missed that one. She's not a big 3-point shooter. She's a big essentially, but she does sometimes bring the ball down almost like a point forward, like a LeBron, something like that. Obviously not with the same skill set, but the same kind of idea when it comes to women's basketball. She played really well, and she kind of brought them over the line. I think Jade Melbourne had a really good tournament. She's really young. I think she's 18 or 19, and she really stood out in her play. It was kind of a breakout. She played a really great quarterfinal game where she kind of got the Australians across the line and brought them back. Not so great of a game in the semi and the bronze medal match. She didn't hit anything in the bronze medal game, but really important, I think, really probably and hopefully will be a star for Australia for a long time to come. That's it when it comes, I think, to the basketball. In terms of the women's basketball, the Olympics, obviously we know what happened on the men's side of the draw. The Olympic team for the USA won the gold medal against France as well. There was a point in the gold medal match where Wemby played really well, obviously, but they were only within 3 points with a few minutes left to go. Didn't end up going their way. It was a lot tighter than the final scoreline suggests, which I think was 11 points. But Steph at the end there just hit a bunch of ridiculous threes to ice the game. Really, I think he probably could have won MVP for that performance and for his games in the semi-final and the final. But if you're going to go overall tournament, then yes, probably LeBron had a more consistent tournament and was one of the 2 most important players on that team. Steph, just incredible what he does with basketball. Also happy for him to win his first gold medal. Look, I'd like a bit more of a switch up with these basketball competitions here at the Olympics when it comes to the gold medal, but You have to give them their flowers. They played really well. I'm not gonna say anything negative about that. And really incredible stuff. Bronze medal match. Serbia won over Australia, which to me was a little bit surprising. I think Australia could have maybe, sorry, not Australia, Germany. I thought Germany were overall the second best team in the comp. I'm a bit surprised at the fact that they lost that semi-final to France, and it wasn't particularly close. They just had a couple of bad nights, but that's all it takes in a kind of Olympic competition. You're not playing best of 7 like you are in the NBA playoffs, so understandable. They're going to be disappointed. They would have loved at least an Olympic medal after their World Championship. Germany are still the world champions when it comes to FIBA basketball, okay? As much as US basketball and Noah Lyles and this whole conversation, which, by the way, if you're from the US and you're listening, the NBA is definitely the best league in the world. But I think when it comes to the understanding of international sport, like other things, the US are kind of a little self-centered when it comes to that regard. I also don't agree that you are the world champions if you win the NBA title, okay? I know that's what it says on your banners. I don't believe that you are. I think if you put the Boston Celtics up against any other team in the world, they would become the world champions. Maybe we need kind of an intercontinental competition like they do in the soccer when it comes to the Club World Cup, where maybe the NBA champion plays a 3-game series or something against the winner of the Euro League, something like that. So, look, they are the Olympic champions, not the world champions. The Boston Celtics aren't the world champions. But it's just pedantic. Okay, I'm not trying to argue. I'm just saying there was a big thing about that on Twitter. I'll give you my 2 cents. You can argue against that. I'm happy to hear everyone's opinion. I know everyone feels differently, but I don't think it's that outrageous to say that the Boston Celtics aren't the world champions. When it comes to something like baseball, okay, if you want to say that the Texas Rangers, they are the World Series champions because really baseball is mostly an American sport, although other countries obviously play. Yes, because it is the World Series. I understand that you're not really competing against any other leagues around the world. When it comes to basketball, though, there are plenty of other leagues around the world that are catching up, and the EuroLeague is one of them. So that aside, that was the Olympics. We've talked about the soccer in the past. Obviously, Germany winning that bronze medal. Very happy for them in that game. Australia crashing out a bit earlier. The US obviously won Olympic gold in the soccer with Emma Hayes leading her first tournament in charge of the USA, which is, by the way, very, very impressive, especially with the limited amount of training and the change of players that they had. Very impressive. She's an incredible coach. I think some games were very tight. They could have gone a different way. For example, I think the semi-final against Germany, I think Germany had better chances throughout the game. They might not have been overall the better team, even though the US had more shots on goal in the end. I think that Germany definitely had the better chances and really could have capitalized on those. But hey, that's neither here or there. And the final was quite close as well. It was a bit late here for me to watch, but I know that was quite close. That was Marta's last game from Brazil. And yeah, they won the silver medal. Very happy for them as well. Not the fairy tale send-off for Marta that maybe she would have wanted, but very impressive nonetheless. I'm looking forward to watching some Premier League women's teams here at the Perth International Cup at the end of August. That's something, or beginning of September, that I am very excited for. I'm going to hopefully get very close to some of the players from both teams. We've got some VIP tickets. And look, any photos, any kind of interactions I get, hopefully I can post something on my social media and talk about that at a later podcast as well. So that's something I'm looking forward to. In terms of other Olympics, obviously the US ended up on top of the medal tally, which was incredible. Australia finishing 4th, just outside 3rd, with I think it was 18 gold medals, which is our best ever haul in terms of gold medals. I'm not sure about total medals. And for a country as small as ours, but our sporting culture being so great, it's fantastic. It's a great achievement, and it was fantastic to watch all the athletes, not just the Australian, the German athletes, but everybody at the Olympics. It was fantastic to watch. I applaud and I congratulate everybody, not only the medal winners either, but everybody that made it to the Olympics. It's a one of a kind, amazing opportunity that not everyone gets. So they all put in incredible effort and incredible amount of time, and they should be really proud, even just for being there. Okay, that's the one place where participating is not necessarily the worst thing in the world. So congratulations, it was fantastic to watch. I applaud that 100%. Moving on. The big title of this episode, we're about halfway through, we're going to go for 30 minutes, is that the WNBA is back. Okay? And when I say it's back, I mean it's really back. I'm looking forward to it. It starts again on Friday morning Australia time. It'll be Thursday night in the US. And the first games of that slate will be the Sky versus the Mercury. Okay? Big game when it comes to seeding in the playoffs. The Lynx and the Mystics, the Sparks and the Liberty at 9 in the morning here. Then the Dream and the Storm are playing on Saturday morning here, along with the Fever and the Mercury. A game I'm definitely excited to watch. It's going to be Caitlin versus Diana Taurasi again. It's going to also be really important for that seeding in the playoffs. And then my beloved Dallas Wings that I will also be watching against the Canadian Sun, also Saturday morning. Those are the first few games that I'm really, really excited for. And we can look forward to those. Look, I'll give you my favorites quickly. I think that the Mercury will comfortably beat the Sky. I think the Lynx will beat the Mystics. The Liberty should comfortably beat the Sparks. But there could be an upset in there with it being in LA. I think the Storm beat the Dream. And then I think that the Fever hopefully beat the Mercury, that they were the way they've been going. Look, you can't read too much into this, but the videos I've been seeing from Fever practice, the fun that they're having, the team camaraderie and chemistry they now have, and I'm sure that they all have with Caitlin Clark, which you could see before the break. I think it's really going to help them. I think they're going to come out firing to solidify that place in the playoffs. And then I think out of the Wings and the Sun, I'm going to pick the Sun to win that one. But Satu will be back for my Wings, something I'm really, really, really looking forward to. We've missed her. It's not going to make much of a difference for our season. Still hope that we get that #1 pick for next year because I need Paige Beckers on the Dallas Wings. But I think the Sun will comfortably win that one nonetheless. And now, let's go into some stories, some things to look forward to, okay? And some things to discuss, some less exciting things here, some things that we might need to talk about, which aren't as comfortable to talk about, but something I want to mention anyway. First of all, let's talk about, okay, these are two very important things. The WNBA Rookie of the Year race, one more time, and the WNBA MVP race. And the one thing I have to say about those two things is that they are finished. Okay, I don't care how long there is left. Those two races are as good as over. I have to say, the Rookie of the Year race, maybe a teeny bit of a door ajar, but we know the MVP is going to be AJ Wilson, okay? And I'm telling you, if this is not the case, you can make fun of me all you want in the comments at the end of the season. I'm telling you, I've told you the whole year, Caitlin Clark should be the unanimous, outright decision for Rookie of the Year. I've told you the whole season, I don't think it's close. I don't think it should be close, and I don't think it will be close. I think that Caitlin Clark will 100% end up with the Rookie of the Year trophy. And here are the odds at the moment. Remember that they were getting closer before the break and before Caitlin kind of went into hyperdrive, we've had the US win the Olympic gold medal now. We saw that some of their games were the lowest, some of the lower rated, maybe because Caitlin Clark wasn't there. I saw a post of a couple of German ladies that went to Paris to watch the Olympics. They came in Caitlin Clark jerseys. They knew she wasn't going to be there. Okay, don't get me wrong. Don't think that they're stupid. I'm just saying they wanted to see her. They were excited. They were hoping she would be there, and she wasn't. I don't know if that gives you an indication, but let's have a look at a few of the odds here because it's overwhelming. First of all, obviously, we've got Caitlin versus Angel in the Rookie of the Year race. No one else is kind of nudging in there. But so far, just to come through before we do the odds, has achieved historic accolades. And I'm reading this off USA Today, but we've talked about some of these in the past. She has the most assists by a rookie in a single game with 19. That record was broken, don't forget. Okay. That was also the single game assist record. It's not just the most assists by a rookie in a game. She has the first triple-double by a rookie. Never been done before, okay? Remembering that a triple-double is much harder to come by in the WNBA than it is the NBA. It's a much rarer occurrence. Caitlin Clark did it as a rookie. Never been done before. So far this season, she's averaging 17.1 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 8.2 assists per game. Some people might think that those points numbers are, she enjoys doing assists, she enjoys getting her teammates involved, especially as a rookie, before she gets that WNBA ready body as such, right? She is getting stronger. She's strong enough, she's fast enough, incredible shooter. Once she gets that body, she's going to be absolutely lethal. A little bit more like maybe Sabrina, just a little bit stronger, a bit bigger. Those numbers are going to go up, but also she's not going to go out here and get 30 points, 40 points a game. It's just not happening. And that also, you're not winning games if that's happening, especially with the group of players, not to belittle the group of players around Caitlin. They've been getting better. Elia Boston is really good. Like we've talked about all this, but there's a reason that they got 2 number 1 picks in a row. And it's because the team overall is not great. It's not on the level, on the standard of a New York Liberty side, okay? Or the Las Vegas Aces. Reese, though, on the other hand, it says here silence the doubters whether, we question whether her college game will translate to the professional level. I'm quoting here from this USA Today article. I know that people question whether it will translate. She's a fantastic rebounder, but there are other levels of her game that just need some work. But rebounding is what she does, and she has been really good in that aspect in particular. She has also made WNBA history by recording a double-double in 15 straight games so far this season, but that streak was snapped. Let's not forget. And she's averaging 13.5 points, 12 rebounds, and 1.8 assists a game. Those points aren't coming at the greatest efficiency, even though you have to remember she's shooting a lot more within a few feet of the basket, whereas Caitlin is shooting a ton of threes. And we've talked about the reasons for efficiency, et cetera, and why I think Caitlin should be the Rookie of the Year. But this is where we come to the odds. Caitlin Clark from the Indiana Fever at the moment to win the 2024 WNBA Rookie of the Year, minus 2,500. That means for every $100 you bet on Caitlin Clark to win the Rookie of the Year, you're losing $2,500. Okay, don't bet on Caitlin Clark to win Rookie of the Year. Actually, don't bet on it at all. I don't encourage gambling, but I use these odds to kind of give you an idea of favorites, things like that. But it's a horrible bet. Okay, don't do it. Caitlin will win Rookie of the Year. Angel Reese, on the other hand, plus 650. means for every $100 you bet, you would get $650 back. Okay. Look, not too smart, I don't think, in my books to bet on Caitlin. I also wouldn't bet on Angel Reese because I think Caitlin is going to be the runaway Rookie of the Year. Okay. Not that you've heard it here first, because I'm not the only person saying this, but write it down. I've said it for a long time, but you can officially put it in the books today, the 14th of August. Caitlin Clark will be Rookie of the Year, and I think unanimously. So let's move on. There's some other things I want to talk about, but also I forgot to mention that the WNBA playoffs actually aren't too far away, and they begin on Thursday, the September 19th. Okay. Sorry, that's when this regular season ends. The playoffs begin on Sunday, September 22nd. I can't wait. It's not a long time. There's not long left. It's not long after my birthday. I will have my Caitlin Clark jersey by then. I will be cheering them on because sadly my Dallas Wings aren't going to be there. Moving on, because I don't want to talk for another 20 minutes. We're almost towards the end of the podcast. There's a couple of important things I want to talk about, a couple of positive things, one more negative that I need to mention because I think it's quite important when it comes to the overarching conversation around the WNBA and some things that have been happening with women's sports from the inside and not when it comes to viewership and judgment from the outside. But first of all, I had a look at this article from ESPN on 5 interesting NBA trades. Now, something that you might not realize, I don't think it's really advertised, talked about as much in the WNBA as maybe it should be, and definitely not as much as it is in the NBA. But the trade deadline is actually coming around sooner than you think, and that is August 20. So only a few days after the WNBA kicks back off again, the WNBA trade deadline is upon us. So there's not a lot of time to think here. Look, I'm no expert when it comes to trades in the WNBA. I don't know how many there are made on an annual level, or if things get as nuts as they do in the NBA. But they've put some packages here together, some trade ideas before the playoffs. And remember, it's not a very long time. Like the NBA deadline is a lot earlier. You've got not a lot of time, realistically, but a lot longer to kind of shuffle around pieces and to make it work, to see how you can put those new trade pieces together and make a run. This is less than a month, half a month, just over, to make a trade and then fit those pieces together, ready for a playoff run. Now, some of these teams I've mentioned, and the first one is the Indiana Fever to reshuffle some pieces around Caitlin Clark. If you're 7th in those playoff positions, you haven't been in the playoffs in a couple of years. Do you think you should be making a risky trade at the trade deadline? I'm not so sure, and I'm going to say no. I don't think this is a good idea, not only because the trade that we're going to talk about in a second here, I just think it's too risky. I think they've been on a roll. I think they're working together. Is it the perfect team? No. And even though you've seen kind of what works with Caitlin Clark now, and maybe the players you want around her, I think it's maybe a bit better to just see how these players fit till the end of the season, how they fit in a playoff environment, before you go making changes all up and around in the Fever locker room. The chemistry is really building. A lot of people talked about the fact that maybe even her teammates didn't like Caitlin Clark so much when she came in to begin with because of the whole hoopla that was going around. I never thought that was really the case. I think they all seemed to like her and welcome her on the team. But if that's the case, don't you want to keep building that chemistry and just see how it works? You've got plenty of time after the season to make changes. So I don't think it's a good idea, but the proposal is that the Indiana Fever get guard Brittany Sykes, forward Maisha Hines-Allen, and a 2026 second-round pick. And the Washington Mystics get Katie Lou Samuelson, Nelissa Smith, and center Victoria Sexton, and a 2026 first-round pick. Obviously, Brittany Sykes, great player. The Mystics, though, I don't know if they'd want to do this. It's a 2026 first-round pick, but also you're a rebuilding team. Do the Indiana Fever really want to give up a first-round pick just 2 years down the road? I think that can be really valuable maybe next year in the off-season when you know what you want to put around Caitlin to make some really good trades and then get some veterans there to build a title contender and maybe see how everything develops. If you don't think you're quite there to make a competitive run in 2026, you still have a first-round pick. Obviously, you want to win as quickly as possible with a generational talent, but I don't think you want to go there that quickly. I also think Katie Lou and Nelissa are two quite important pieces. I know that they've said here that Nelissa is more of a volume scorer. This is the lowest points per game kind of level she's been at for a while now, at 11.6 points per game, and maybe that's not so needed as much with Caitlin around, and also she's not quite as good on defense as you maybe would like. But still, I think that at the moment you don't need to go around changing so many pieces. There's a few other ones here, like the Seattle Storm and the Sparks doing a trade. There's Aces kind of loading up and making a trade to kind of solidify a couple of things, because really when you look at it, the top teams aren't out as far in front as they were last year. So the Liberty, the Aces aren't doing as great. So yeah, look, there's some things to play around here. There's one where the Dallas Wings clear some cap space for Sims because Odyssey Sims is a bit of a difference maker for the Dallas Mavericks at the moment, and maybe you want to kind of sturdy that ship and sign her while you can. Mind you, I think that once hopefully Paige Beckers gets on the team, maybe Odyssey doesn't get as big of a role. Maybe they work really well together, I'm not sure. So yeah, they might not have any hardship spots left shortly because some players are coming back as well. So maybe they want to solidify that. So there's a few different trades here. I think the main one there I wanted to talk about was that Fever one. It's the most interesting. It's the biggest. But I don't think they should do it. I think they should stay far away from that for the minute, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens. I'm really excited to see what happens. I mean, it's not long away now. The trade deadline is about a week away for us here in Australia. So, yeah. Moving on, we got some news about Caitlin Clark as well, specifically, and being linked to another basketball league that a lot of you may have heard about. It's called the Unrivaled 3x3 League, which was started, I believe, by Brianna Stewart, right? And basically, it's an opportunity for women's basketball players to play in the States over the break. Because we know that, obviously, WNBA contracts are nowhere near as lucrative as NBA contracts. A lot of these players have to go overseas in the off-season, which is very long at the moment for the WNBA, to make a living. So Brianna Stewart has kind of started this league with some good sponsorship, with some money, so players can stay stateside, they don't have to travel overseas. They can make good money, they can keep playing basketball at a good level, 3-on-3, and some of the other great players from the WNBA. Someone asked Caitlin Clark about this, and she says, look, she's just focused on the WNBA at the moment, which I totally understand. They want to make, want to make a run towards those playoffs. I think they will. I think they'll make it, and I think it's going to be a really interesting playoff run. So that's just something to keep in mind, that she was linked to that. I think she will end up going because it's one of the better opportunities at the moment. She does make so much money though off her Nike deal. I think I heard that her new signature shoe is now starting to be in the works, and that they're actually building that, designing that now. It's still probably a year or two away at least, but look, she's making so much money of those deals compared to all the other WNBA players that maybe she just wants a nice rest after playing so much basketball, even after this like short bit of time off. So that's a possibility that she goes there. I think she will, because otherwise it's a long off season to not play any basketball. But maybe she'll take it a bit more easy. She might not play at all, or she might relish the opportunity to maybe go overseas anyway and kind of just experience a little bit something different. Maybe she just goes on holidays overseas. Maybe she plays overseas to try and, maybe she gets a good offer. She draws some more crowds to a different league around the world. Something like that. Those are always possibilities. And then last but not least, I'm going to end on a little bit of a disappointing note, disappointing, but something a little bit more sinister maybe. That's not so upbeat, so exciting, but I think it needs to be mentioned. And that is to do with Los Angeles Sparks forward, Doris Hamby, who I think most of you would have heard of, even if you're not a very close follower of the WNBA. She's filed a lawsuit in Nevada federal court against the WNBA and also the two-time defending champions, Las Vegas Aces. She is, according to this Forbes article, alleging that the Las Vegas Aces unlawfully discriminated and retaliated against her when she was pregnant in 2022. And, okay, we need to not forget, some of you may know this, that those allegations could actually have quite a bit of merit, because the WNBA has previously disciplined the Aces and Becky Hammond. Don't get me wrong, great coach, trained under Pop. But they have been disciplined after an investigation into Hamby's allegations. Her damages are a bit uncertain, though, what she wants to kind of get out of this. But essentially, her allegation is that, she's very successful, but she, she alleges that the Aces committed to providing two benefits not included in the contract. First, she claims the Aces agreed to pay the cost of private school tuition for Hamby's daughter in the form of a donation to the school. Second, Hamby says the team permitted her to occupy team-provided housing to permit Hamby's family to assist with childcare. According to Hamby, a few weeks later, on July 18, 2022, she discovered for the first time that she was pregnant with her second child. Hamby confirmed the pregnancy on August 8, 2022, at a doctor's appointment. She alleges that that at some unspecified date thereafter that she informed Natalie Williams, the Aces general manager, of the pregnancy. She continued playing, helped the Aces win the 2022 title. And during the victory parade, she publicly announced her pregnancy. After that, though, Hamby claims that the team's attitude towards her took a negative turn. In the fall of 2022, Hamby claims that the Aces failed to pay the promised tuition for her daughter, and also requested that she vacate the team housing. And then what is likely to be most at issue during the litigation is a January 15, 2023 call between Hamby and Hammond. Hamby claims that Hammond chastised her for not taking precautions against getting pregnant, questioned her commitment to the team and her work ethic, and accused Hamby of signing her contract extension knowing that she was pregnant. Hamby denied Hammond's claims and insisted that she would be ready for the next season after giving birth in the off-season. The fallout to that was that on the day the trade was announced, which was 6 days later, by the way, not a lot of time in between that, Hamby made her allegations public in a social media post, etc., etc. I won't go into all the legal claims. That's very complicated, and I want to start wrapping up the episode. But if those allegations are true, and it seems like they might be, since the WNBA, sanctioned the Aces and Becky Hammond already. I mean, it's pretty horrible. Regardless of whether or not Hamby knew that she was pregnant before signing contract extension, blah, 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 to me, is completely irrelevant. We are here, for me, watching, commentating on women's sports. They are playing top-level women's sports. They should and are still allowed to have a family. The fact that she won a title for them while she was pregnant, the fact that she took steps to announce it to the general manager to do all that, to then play again, because remember the off-season is so long after giving birth in the off-season, and for them to trade her so quickly after that discussion, I think it's horrible. I think Becky Hammond, these allegations are true, okay, to say these are all allegations. I mean, it's just irresponsible. It's terrible. It's not what we should be doing or seeing. Women, professional sports women, should be allowed to have a family when they choose. They should have the support of the organizations that they play for, because these organizations should take into account that these are women, okay, and women are, okay, the gender that has the capability of bearing a child, and if they wish to do so, they should be allowed to do so under their existing contract. I don't think that their contract specifies that you cannot get pregnant during your contract. I don't think it specifies, or I don't think you should be able to write into a contract that they can't be pregnant during a contract. I think that's morally wrong. And yeah, look, it's not a good look. Also, to question your work ethic and your commitment to the team is just stooping very, very low to a fellow female in that situation, a player of yours that has helped you win a title. It's quite deplorable. I know here that in Australia, in the WAFL, for example, there are a lot of women, whether they are straight women having children, whether they're adopting children, or whether they have surrogates, whatever that might be. Here in the AFLW, they get the support, as far as I'm aware, from their teams. They take the time off. I've known many instances from my team, the Fremantle Dockers, where that's been the case. Obviously, us fans might not be the happiest at the time, especially if it's one of your better players, but you can't really be that upset. I mean, it's a really important thing. It's important to them. It's important to their mental health. They are allowed to have a family. They are allowed to build a future that goes beyond the football or the basketball they play until they're maybe in their later 30s. There's a life beyond that, especially for female athletes at the moment who aren't getting paid the same amount as men's athletes. And men's athletes don't have to worry about taking time off to build a family if they have a wife at home that is doing that. So yeah, look, I think that the way it's handled here in the AFLW, for example, by certain teams, when a player is pregnant and chooses to have a family, I think is much more, much more sensitive to those issues. I think it's applaudable. It's amazing what they do here and the way that it's handled on most occasions. And I really think we need to start kind of, making that a normality around women's sports leagues around the country. It's hard enough for them as it is to build that family, to go off, have off time, to not be training that time, to then build up to that body again, to then go back and do and play the sport that you love at the highest level. It's hard enough to do that and build a family without having the extra pressure of, hey, you're not committed to the team. or hey, we don't support you in this way. So that's something I wanted to end the show on. I know it's not the happiest thing, but I think it's something really important to talk about, something really important to discuss. I know that I'm a man talking about that topic, so it might not be the most relatable for any female viewers out there. But look, I just want to say that any lady in that situation, any professional athlete in that situation has my complete support, and I, would totally despise and just not condone any behavior that goes against that, in the way of, say, the Las Vegas Aces a couple of years ago. So I want to wrap that up, adding to the fact that all of those are any allegations at this point. Everything I said is alleged, not confirmed. And we'll have to see and have a look at what will happen with that in the future. But I want to wrap that up here. We have gone over time. And I just want to finish on the fact that the WNBA is only days away from restarting. It's incredible. I cannot wait. I am so excited to watch basketball again. And I want to thank you for joining in to that WNBA podcast again for episode 7, talking about all things WNBA restart and wrapping up the Olympics. I hope you enjoyed the episode, of course. And hopefully you feel even more connected to the world of the WNBA. And don't forget to subscribe, give me a like, a comment is always appreciated. I'd love to start a conversation with anyone that feels like they have any comments around the WNBA or any of these discussion points. Feel free to leave us a review on any of your podcast platforms that you listen to me on. Follow me on social media at that WNBA podcast, and join in with for any latest updates that I post, and with a conversation with some fellow fans, including myself. So until next time, keep supporting women's basketball and celebrating these heroes on and off the court.